that was me in school. I was the mixture between the goldfish and the elephant, going like, hey, I can do it this way. Why do I have to do it your way? Or, hey, I just can't do that at all. But what it resulted in me was getting really bad scores, really bad marks, bad grades. So I left school thinking nothing other than I'm dumb. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. And I'm never going to be amount to any success in my life. And in fact, I even got told by my teachers, one teacher specifically, they said, when you leave school, we don't recommend you do anything in reading, writing, journalism, or speaking because it's not your strong suit, any of them. But now I've got a global podcast. We stream in nearly 100 countries around the world, top 10 in several, number 6 here in Australia. And I've spoken in 4 different countries live of crowds up to 6,000 at a time, right? So I'm glad that I eventually figured my shit out and stopped letting other people's opinions control me.
Before you listen to today's episode, I'd like to ask you a huge favor. So many of you listen to this podcast, but you're not yet subscribed, potentially on any platform. The more of you that subscribe and share this with your friends, the more that we can bring more content to you, more knowledge and wisdom and amazing guests. And right now, this is my passion project. So I'm not making any money from it. And it does take a lot of my time amidst supporting my incredible clients inside the Lovely Radical Academy. And I get so many messages of lives that are being changed because of having access to this exciting knowledge and support and conversation and community. And by simply clicking a button to subscribe and to share, you're part of that impact, which is pretty cool. So take a moment now, hit subscribe, share this with your friends, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Well, he went from being emotionally and financially broke at 21 to financially free at 23. He's the founder of the Dream Out Loud Method with a passion for helping young people find their purpose and live their potential by creating a world-class standard of living across all areas of life. Morgan Nelson, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's so good to be here. It's I'm pumped to jump in and have a chat with you and all of you people. So yeah. I'm fired up.
Yeah, and I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember we actually met on Christmas Day a couple of years ago at one of our mutual mentors' homes, and it was
whose is that?
That was at Liz's place a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but there was a lot of people there, and it was interesting for me because I'd been hanging around a lot of people in the entrepreneurial space at the time, but a lot of people who were hustling but not really getting anywhere to sort of land in that home on that day, totally out of the blue, with all of these wildly successful people who were just really cool to chat to, was a really powerful moment for me. So I just wanted to thank you for being part of that, whether you know it or not.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so cool to hear. I remember that day. I remember that.
Yeah, it's fun. So tell me a little bit more about your origin story, what went down for you back in the day to challenge you to change?
Yeah, well, do you want the short story or the long story?
Let's maybe go the short one for today.
Yeah. Look, short story, long story cut short is I'm 29 years old now. I went all the way to grade 12 for no other reason than the parties and the girls. I wasn't enjoying school. I wasn't good at it. Like I was really, I'm not sure if you've ever seen that meme where they've got a monkey, a goldfish, and an elephant, and they're sitting at a table and there's a tree behind them, and the judges are sitting at the table and says, okay, guys, your next test is we're going to judge you on your ability to climb that tree. And I looked at it and I was like, holy shit, this is the education system right here. Because obviously the goldfish isn't going to do shit. The monkey's going to climb up the tree. The elephant's just going to reach the top of the trunk, and then it'll be called cheating and not get the right grade. And because it thought outside the box and use its strengths, right, but not the cookie cutter way. And so I that was me in school. I was the mixture between the goldfish and the elephant, going like, hey, I can do it this way. Why do I have to do it your way? Or, hey, I just can't do that at all. But what it resulted in me was getting really bad scores, really bad marks, bad grades. So I left school thinking nothing other than I'm dumb, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, and I'm never going to be amount to any success in my life. And in fact, I even got told by my teachers, one teacher specifically, they said, when you leave school, we don't recommend you do anything in reading, writing, journalism, or speaking because it's not your strong suit, any of them. But now I've got a global podcast. We stream in nearly 100 countries around the world, top 10 in several, number 6 here in Australia. And I've spoken in 4 different countries live of crowds up to 6,000 at a time, right? So like I'm glad that I eventually figured my shit out and stopped letting other people's opinions control me. But for the first few years outside of school, that's all it was. It just consumed me. So I got an apprenticeship as a carpenter, and I started working as a carpenter. I was doing all the things that I thought I had to do, following, society's way of life. But there was this thing inside of me. There was this burning desire. There was this hunger, this dream that I really felt was really alive during school. And I thought, like, when I leave school, that's what life's gonna be about. It's gonna be freedom, traveling, fun, full-time job, like money, like. And then what happened was, after school, it kind of just got shut down. And I felt like, and I saw everybody else giving up on their dreams. I saw everybody else giving up on their goals, and they were going to uni. They were doing all the things that I knew they didn't really want to do. And the rebel in me just decided that I didn't want to settle for that. So I had this burning desire in my belly for many years. And I was always looking up to people that are successful. Like what you were saying, like you came to that house and you see people that are just killing it at life. And, I started to do the exact same thing when I was about 19 to 20 years old. I started noticing that, hey, these people drive a really nice car and have a really nice house. And these people drive a really crappy car and have a really crappy house. What is the difference? They're the same age. What is the difference between the two? And I started to just get fascinated. I remember reading a book, Secret to the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And one of the things he says in there is like, broke people stay broke because they look at rich people and they think they're bad. They start to like mock them and they trash talk them, and they'll look at them and be like, oh my God, and think they're some sort of bad person. And then he asked the question, it's like, if you want to be rich, how will you ever become someone who you resent? And I grew up in this sort of household and stuff where rich people were not the favorite people. It's like, they were kind of like bad. They were the ones that were like, oh, they were the greedy ones. They were the assholes and all this. So I developed this thing that, fuck, I want to do everything other than be successful. But when I was aware of it, I started to actually challenge it, because every single successful person I started to meet at about 21 years old were really happy. They were kind. They were donating to charities. I didn't even know that people freaking donate to charities. I was like, wow, these people make so much money that they can just give it away. And this was really started to change for me. I was 21 years old, and instead of hanging around with people that were still people, I call them still, right? They're still broke. They're still complaining. They're still justifying. They're still blaming other people, and they're still going nowhere in their life, right? I was one of them. They're still people. I was one of them. And it wasn't until I made the decision to actually start surrounding myself with different people. And I started hanging out with my mate Reese, who was, he was 24. He had 6 properties already. He had a good corporate job. He traveled the world. And every time I opened up social media, he just freaking was smiling. And I couldn't figure it out. I was like, how's this guy so happy and so rich, right?
Yeah.
And, he introduced me to my first business when I was 21 years old. And through that, I started just seeing, like, it's like I was living in a world of black and white, and everything around me was either black or it was white. There was nothing else. And then this one day, I climbed the fence because I was curious, and I peeked over and I saw this whole world of color. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, where has this been hiding my whole life? And here I was clinging onto the fence, seeing the world of color, seeing what could be, seeing what I could create, seeing how amazing it is, and the experiences people are having over there. And I'm leaning over my shoulder, trying to convince the people in black and white lands, saying, guys, come to the fence, come have a look at this, come check it out. And then they're sitting down there. From their perspective, they see some crazy guy on the fence talking about this world of color, and they're like, oh my God, there goes another one. We lost our great Uncle Jerry to that fence years ago. You know what? He climbed it and he never came back. I tell you what, I've been in the black and white world. I've been in the color world. There's a reason Uncle Jerry didn't come back, right? But I spent years trying to convince people, like, hey, I want to go. And it wasn't until I actually decided that, screw it. You're either going to come with me or you're going to be reading my postcodes from the land of color. But either way, I'm going. And I made the full-blown decision when I was about 21, 22. It's the longest story cuts short. I went all in with my dreams, all in with this business. I created financial freedom by 23. I moved to Mexico, and kind of the rest is history of, we've grown a 7-figure sales business there. I think 18 or 19 countries around the world we had customers in, and then, Yeah, the podcast now. We've got the education company now, where we're running seminars and personal development programs, which is really fun and really challenging.
Yeah.
And we just started another company that started this year, actually, a full podcast agency. So, yeah, like I just thought at the start of the year, I was like, what do you do when you're already being challenged growing one company? You go start a second one. So that's where we are right now.
Love that. I love that. And I love the still people recognition there, and the fact that you called your method Dream Out Loud. And I'm wondering what your experience was when you did start dreaming out loud in those old environments. Was that challenging for you? And if so, how did you move through that?
Yeah, definitely. I remember, and I'll share the whole 4 pillars if you want, but
Yeah.
I remember going to one of my friends. It was their engagement party, right? And I just like drank the Kool-Aid, call it, right? I was hanging out with all these guys. We would go camping every Easter. We'd go out to the pub every weekend. We'd just do the same shit every weekend. Make money, spend it all at the casino or the pub or clubbing or whatever. And when I decided to, hey, you know what? I don't want to go out and party this weekend. I want to work on this business I just started. They started looking at me like, oh my God, you're a freaking weirdo. And I remember going to this party. It was their engagement party. And I, after a few drinks, everybody, it just turned into this whole thing of like, rip on Morgan, like make fun of Morgan because he's trying to do this business and entrepreneur, never get to be a millionaire and all this sorts of shit. And it was like strong banter because call these people like my friends, not really at all anymore. I really remember this day and I was like, and I remember just thinking, I was like, well, here's the thing, Morgan. If you're going to carry on like these people still, they'll treat you like one of their own. Because here I was still drinking, partying, and being a menace. Because no one would ever look at somebody like, no one would ever look at me now. No one would look at me now and say, oh, you're never going to make it, blah, 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 blah. Because I'm so convicted. I'm so certain. I'm so like, you can't deny this. You know, they would not
proof as well.
Yeah. But they would not look at me like, because they would look at me now and be like, no, that makes sense. Because this is what my life's about. I've got a high performing life, I've got a successful life. I take my life seriously. I have self-respect. But back then I didn't have any of these things. So next minute, you know, when I'm one weekend blackout drunk, being a menace to society, and then the next weekend trying to be an entrepreneur and business person, these people go, come on, I can't take you seriously because look at you. And so they shouldn't. So they shouldn't have. But I remember that day and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna roll around with dogs, I'll come up with fleas. Like it really is that saying, you know. And so how did I overcome it though? Here's the thing. You can't really choose the people around you sometimes, right? But you also can, right? So there's what I realized was sometimes I'd go to work and stuff, or there was certain people I just couldn't really control, right? And I'm sure everyone can relate to this. So what I did though, but I drowned out the noise with better noise. So if you've got like a cup of freaking, I don't know, never used as a metaphor before. If you got like a cup of soft drink, you got a cup of Coca-Cola, right? And you put a dash of water in there, you're not going to notice the difference. But if you have a pouring tap into that cup of Coca-Cola, eventually the only thing in there will be water. And that's how I looked at it. I got all this, everything else happening in my life, these naysays, these negative people, these people like telling me I can't do it, yada, yada, yada. But like I remember every single day I drive to work, I had a 56-minute drive to work and I listened to a 57-minute audio of Jim Rohn every single day. It was so ingrained into my soul where it didn't bother me when I got to work because I was just drowning out the noise in my car ride there. Like I didn't listen to music on the radio, I kid you not, for years. Because if I'm in the car, I'm listening to an audiobook. If I'm in the car, I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm making phone calls and I'm making sales calls, or I'm inviting people to my events and I'm doing things like this. This is literally all I was. And every single waking moment was about drowning out the noise of the people who told me I couldn't do it. But as a thing, I also grabbed them and used them as like my fuel, my power. Because I still remember to this day, some of the certain people who said all this shit to me. And if I ever do see them now, fuck, it's funny seeing them.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like it's just, you know, I'm not like a sour person, but like I remember it, and I'm sure they do too. And I'm just like, so
Yep.
hey,
Hi.
how you doing, right? But I think it's very, very normal. That's the thing. I want people to really hear this and know, like, if they're on a journey going from where they are now to where they want to go, unless they're in an incredible supportive community, it's quite likely that they're going to have people try to talk them out of it. It's the crab mentality. You know, you put 20 crabs in a bucket. Sorry, if you put one crab in a bucket, it'll crawl itself out. If you put 20 in a bucket, one tries to climb out, the others will grab it and pull it back down because they think they're trying to save it. And that's how like human nature also works, right? So it's super freaking important to make sure that we're surrounded by people that are actually supporting us. So that is the first pillar of, you know, when I talk about the Dream Out Loud method.
Yeah.
The Dream Out Loud method is my 3-day event, right? Like because I believe in teaching, you know, there's 3 levels of learning. Okay. The first one is knowing. People can know information, right? So I'm going to share about the 4 pillars in a moment, right? And people can hear it and they can be like, oh yeah, cool. Now I know that. I know these 4 pillars. That's fantastic. The next level of learning is understanding. So I could teach it. They could listen to this over and over and over. They could write it out and they fully begin to understand it. And they go, oh my God, I get this to such a degree that I could probably teach this to somebody else now. Think of like a college professor. I don't know about you, but I've always wondered why or how a college professor who teaches business has a job. It doesn't make sense to me, because if they were so good at business, wouldn't they be busy growing their businesses? It just doesn't make sense to me, right? And I don't have a thing against professors or anything like that. I think they're incredible. You know, it's incredible. And honest to God, I would still like to actually go and do a business degree at some point, because there's probably some stuff I'd learn for sure, like management and accounting and finance and shit like that. I'm sure I'd still learn some stuff. But here's the thing: if you're really serious about growing a successful life and a successful business, what would make more sense to learn from? $80,000 doing a university degree to learn from some old white dude who's doesn't have a business, has a job, or invest $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in a mastermind for a year or 2 years with young entrepreneurs that have multiple businesses right now that are actually extremely successful. Most people don't do that because that's the way of the world, right? But that's why most people get the results they want, get the results they get in life, because they stop at level 2, which is understanding the information. So the third level of learning is what I do with people at the Dream Out Loud method. This is how people come in my events and they're a completely different person after, because the third level is embodiment. See, I don't care what people know. I care what they do. I never listen to the things they say. I know this. I'm sure you know it. Whatever. You've read the book, sure. But show me your bank account. Show me your lifestyle. Show me your diary. Show me your habits. And then I'll tell you if you really do the things you say you know. Because there's a big difference between knowing what you know and doing what you know. And I've over the last 8-9 years, I've become really freaking good at human behavior and getting people to move and getting people to really to transform at a deep unconscious level. And that's kind of what we've done with the event, right? But it's built off these 4 pillars. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Let's go.
So pillar number 1, right, of creating your life by design, your dream life, is you've got to have the right environment. All right. And straight off the bat, I know some people have probably already taken notes, which is fantastic. And I also know some people will be like, oh, but I already know this. Let me say this to you. I was 24 years old. I got flown out to Maui to go speak to 500 of our company's top income earners. There were some people in the audience who were 50, 60, 70 years old, making 5 times, 10 times more than me. But they flew me there to train the whole crowd. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Anyway, one of the other speakers at this event was Darren Hardy, the founder of Success Magazine and the author of The Compound Effect. Like, Darren Hardy is like the OG of personal development and success. Like, he's been around for such a long time and he's the GOAT. And I remember he gives this whole keynote and I'm taking notes. I'm like, wow. Then he gets to the end of it. And I was like, wow, that was really cool. You know, like, he delivered that in a really cool way. And then we had dinner later that night and he comes up to me. He's like, nice to meet you, Morgan. Good job today, blah, blah, blah. Did you get a lot of value today? Did you enjoy it? And I said, yeah, it was good. But like, I kind of already knew some of that stuff. And he looks at me. He's big dude. He's like 6'2", 6'3", big dude. You already knew it. I said, well, yeah, I'm 24 years old. I'm like, yeah, you're talking about do small habits now, like compound into big things. Some of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and do things you don't like doing now because they compound into things that you want. I get it. I knew it. He said, well, let me ask you a question. Do you do it? And does your bank account show it? And I was like, fuck. And this was the first time I really understood the difference between knowing, understanding, and embodying. Here's someone who's been going for so freaking long, challenged me on that. So I'm challenging every single person who listens to this. If I say anything and you're like, oh, I already know that, get it out of your vocabulary as fast as you can, because anything that follows the words, I know that, we just completely delete. We won't even pick up because our reticular activating system will just say, well, it's not important for us. So we're not even going to become aware of, in the 2 million pieces of information that our brain picks up every 1 second, we're not even going to become aware of anything that could benefit us to learn because we say, but I already know that. So that's one thing I just make sure I'm always on. If I catch myself saying, I know this, I'm like, shh, shut up, Morgan, stop it. All right. Okay. So the first pillar is having the right environment. We've got to have the right environment. 21 years old, I was surrounding myself with drug addicts, toxic people, depressed people, alcoholics, and guess what? I became one, right? But then at 21, I changed my environment to hang around with rich people, successful people, happy people, healthy people, right? Ambitious people. My whole life started to change. My habits started to change. My beliefs started to change. My goals started to change. My whole outlook on life started to change. I actually had a vision of my life where before I just thought, I just need to get through this week because this week's the weekend. I'm going clubbing, get my paycheck. Now in this circle, I'm like, wow, 5-year, 10-year vision. What's my mission? What am I doing here? And the right people will really start to challenge your way of thinking and your way of living. And it's super freaking important. And how do you know if you're in the right environment is you feel uncomfortable. Like I've got an elite mastermind right now, right? One of the highest way to work with me. And quite often people come in, the new people who come in, they say to me, like, I feel out of place. I said, that's why you're here. Because there's other people in here that are freaking killing it. And you're just starting out, of course. But that's how you know you're in the right place. Because if it was normal and if it was easy, then you just keep getting the same shit. Our muscles don't grow if you just go to the gym and lift super light weights and don't put your muscles under any pressure, right? So that's how I've always checked it. I'm like, if I feel uncomfortable in the right way, if I feel uncomfortable with the people around me, they're smarter, richer, better, I'm like, wow, I'm in a good circle. All right. So the right environment is absolutely freaking crucial. We've got internal and external, okay? But internal is really all the things we say to ourselves. It's a big day we sort of spend helping people sort of recover that shit. But the next one is the right vehicle. What is the right vehicle for you? Okay, so I go through a process with people to help them discover their true north in life, because I truly believe that everybody has this true north. What is their true north set to? Like when I interviewed Les Brown on my podcast, and I asked Les, and I said, Les, do you really think that everyone can live their dream life? And you know what he said to me? He's like, Morgan, that's why we're here. He's like, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
He's like, there's 400 trillion chances to 1 of you even being born. You're not here by accident. You have been put here to live out your dreams. And I'm like, that it makes a lot of sense. Like, we're not here by just this little blip, like, oh, that's an accident. We're here for an absolute purpose. See, what happens is I actually believe that everybody has this ingrained in their soul. But then what happens is through the ages of 0 to where they are now, the world tells them, oh, but you can't do that. You can't be a famous supercar racer. You can't be an astronaut. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just stop. Just be grateful. You don't want to set yourself up for big goals because what if you fail and all this stupid shit, right? And I think people just they get into their own head and they develop these beliefs and these attitudes and habits and all these things that just don't serve them anymore. So a big philosophy I live for, big philosophy I help people sort of tap into the Dream Out Loud method is helping people uncover who they were born to be, not who they were taught to be. Because I truly believe that everyone was born a freaking miracle. Everyone's born this unique, incredible person with their own ingrained vehicle and mission in life. And then people came along and fucked it all up for them.
Yeah.
Right? Mom and dad trying to do their best because no one gave your parents an owner's manual for a
Nope.
child. Right? And everyone's just trying to do the best they can. And then, you turn out to be a 27-year-old person with a couple screws loose in your head. And you're like, still worrying about little Sally who said something wrong to you at 6 years old in the schoolyard. And that you bring that forward all the way into your life. Right? And these are the things a lot of people deal with. So, but when they tap into the right vehicle for them, one that's inspiring for them, I talk to a lot of people and they say, Morgan, I'm struggling with motivation. I just need more motivation. I say, you don't need more motivation. You need a life that's actually inspiring for you. You need a life that when you wake up, you can't wait to start doing. Like I don't like to sleep much because when I'm sleeping, I'm not doing the things I love. Right? And sleeping's great. But like when I wake up, I'm so excited. You're like, I want to quickly go to the gym and do the rest of the shit I need to do so I can start doing today's stuff. Yeah. Like it's just inspiring for me. Like I struggle to take time off because I just don't want to. Right. So when you follow your true north, it's going to lead you to the right vehicle for you. And I truly believe when people tap into their right vehicle, they'll create all the abundance, all the wealth, all the joy that they actually want. And what happens very often is people go after a goal that's not even theirs. Like I hear it all the time. People say, someone came up to me in my event in Sydney and he goes, I burnt myself out last year. I made $750,000. He's a 22-year-old kid. He's made 750 grand last year, but I nearly killed myself, went to hospital, burnt myself out. I'm like, that's horrible. Why'd you do that? And he goes, well, I was trying to hit 1 million. I said, what for? He goes, I don't know, just because. I said, that's why you burned out, because you're trying to hit a goal that's not even yours. Like, come on. Most people, they don't really think about, they just think because it's like this invisible worthiness scale of the entrepreneurs. If you're a 7-figure entrepreneur, then you are worthy. But I tell you what, like a lot of people would live the life they actually want to live on like 150K a year.
Yeah.
Like, and if they're able to make 150K doing what they love and have the freedom that they want, that's probably enough for them. And like, invest it wisely. And then in the next 10 years, you'll never have to do anything ever again. Like, anyway, big story there.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people we don't have that long-term or bigger vision outside of the just make the figure. When it's like, when you do actually set yourself up and you are enjoying it, you also kind of become more magnetic to opportunities and more money flowing in, and you can say yes to it. You could say no to it, but to get in the energetics of like abundance or whatever the buzzword is we want to use.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, well, when you're truly in alignment with the things that are important for you, the universe is like, it wants to conspire with you. It wants things to be easy. Like, it's not easy. It wants things to be simple. Right. And I think that the whole hustle culture, and I'm quite clear on this, I think, like, I work my ass off. I hustle, I get shit done, but it's not at the cost of my being, or, but exactly what you said. Like, yeah, like if there's a balance, don't get me wrong. There's definitely times like when I there's always stress involved as well. There's like, I was even listening to a podcast yesterday with Tom Bilyeu, and he's like, I'm still trying to find the way to create the success I want without stress. It's like, I think it's just very inevitable. And you just got to find that balance of where your tipping point is, and you just don't tip over that. But yeah. So the third pillar is the right timing. The right timing it's got to be the right timing, and you might be asking, well, how do you know when the right timing is? Well, if not now, then when? Like, what are you waiting for, really? Right. And it's all about making the full-blown decision, the 100% commitment. If I say, have you ever partner, Kat?
Not at the moment, no.
Not a partner. Okay. Let's just say you have a partner, right? And he comes home and he's like, hey, baby, I'm 99% sure that you're one of my dreams. Let's get married. You're probably going to be like, thanks, but what about the other 1%, right? And every other woman listening to this could be thinking, well, yeah. And any men listening to this could be like, well, what do you mean the 1%? I gave you 99%. How much more do you want, woman, right? And the thing is, so often, and I did this for years, and I told you about climbing the fence and trying to convince people, and I had 1 foot over the fence now. I'm like, I'm going, and I'm talking to the land in color, I'm talking to the world in black and white, but I'm just sitting on the fence because I'm too scared to let go of the world in black and white. I'm too scared to fully commit to the world of color. Paradoxically, a lot of people have these 2 fears, fear of success and the fear of failure. So they sit on the fence and do nothing.
Yep.
Right? And the reason they do nothing is because they put off the inevitable, which is if they stay on the fence for another decade, they will have a whole decade of regret, a whole decade of bad habits, a whole decade of negatively compounding habits, money, health, relationships. And then they should really readjust that and go, well, what's scarier? Failing, succeeding, or being in the exact same position I am right now in 10 years? Make up your mind, choose one. Right? I tell you what, there is no such thing as failing, right? Because I purposely look to fail as often as I can. Because every time I fail, I'm like, oh, cool. Another way where it hasn't worked. We'll cross that one off. We're only getting closer and closer and closer to it really working now. People have, a negative connotation to failing, which it blows my mind. I actually believe it comes back from school days, because when you'd fail in school, you'd get punished. If you got an F or a D or whatever on your test, you get in trouble. And you're like, oh, you're not smart enough. You get put in the dumb class. You get this or you get that. You get extra tutoring. You resit the test again. We'll call your parents. So we don't want to fail. But in the real world, failure makes you succeed. We'll never start a business, start a new relationship, anything, and just succeed straight away 100% of the time. We succeed by learning the ways where it doesn't work. And same as a kid does. A kid does not learn by saying, don't put your hand on the stove because it's hot. They will learn better by putting their hand on the stove and being like, shit, won't do that again. That will be remembered in their nervous system, right? And that is that we will zig and we'll zag our way to success. If people are consumed by the fear of failure, they've got to understand that it's a zigzag, a journey forward. As long as it doesn't matter if you're failing, as long as you're failing forward. Fail forward, pick yourself back up, learn what worked, what didn't work, and keep doing something, right? Just don't do what didn't work. And you'll eventually narrow down what's working for you, right? And the last one is the right you, right? You got to become the right you, which comes down to the right belief system, the right values, and the right attitude. Right? Beliefs are opinions that we just think is really, really, really real. And the beliefs that we pick up from the moment we're born all the way until now, we have these beliefs that can construct our perception of the world. If we think something is that old saying, if you believe you can and believe you can't, you're right either way. It's 100% true. But it goes a little deeper than that. A lot of people have these beliefs around who they believe they are or who they believe they'll become if they achieve the things they say they want. And they get this whole confliction within, and they're just a little confused. The sad thing is it's very deeply unconscious, because on the conscious level, it's all about skill set, behavior, and then the it's results. But on the unconscious level, it's all about belief systems, values, and our identity. It's totally unconscious. It's like our unconscious mind is what does all it's what, like last night I was driving home. We went out to Broadbeach last night, and I was driving home. I took the wrong exit, and 5 minutes into the wrong exit, I was like, hold on, where the fuck am I? I said, I was so unconscious the last 5 minutes. I said, where the fuck am I? I had to put on Google Maps to get home. I was like, God damn, right? So this is how much our mind can just kick in and start running our patterns in our life without us even being aware. So when people come to the Dream Aloud method, we put them through processes where they actually become aware of things that aren't serving them now, because you can't intervene with a world you can't see. So we help people actually become aware first. Then we pattern interrupt and reform and recondition a new way of living for them. And they actually construct it and they do it all themselves. And it's freaking amazing. It's like really giving people the owner's manual for their life once and for all, where they're like, holy shit, I didn't know that I could program my life to be successful, happy, and purposeful. Right? But the biggest thing in the right you, and then I'll shut up and I'll let you talk, right? If you get just one thing from this whole thing I just gave, it's this. It's to actually take on the right attitude of success. So there's 3 ways. There's 3 types of people in the world. The first person, they'll sit there and they'll just complain about the wind. They'll complain and be like, oh, the wind, it's not blowing in my direction. It's not working for me. It's this. It's not me. It's the wind. The wind is hurting me. It's hurting my business. And we all know, like, and I did this for years. Like, oh, but I wish I could be successful. I wish I could do that, but it's not easy for me. I grew up in Coomera. I did this. I wasn't smart at school. I did da. Insert all list of reasons why I can't. Yeah. And every single time we do this, we give away our power to actually create and change our life. We feel good about it. We feel like a victim. But and then we actually associate, like, we get a lot of payoffs of being a victim, by the way. It makes us feel good. It releases chemicals, releases dopamine, all these sorts of things. So we actually start to bond with ourselves and we feel good about it.
Yeah.
But the second person, they sit there and they just hope that the wind will change. They put out all their crystals. They get their cacao bowl out. They sit under the full moon and they wait and they just meditate and they just manifest. But then they just hope and hope and they keep doing the same thing they've always done. And they just say, it's okay. The wind will change eventually. Or they might even say, which is really bad, oh, it just means it's not meant for me because the wind isn't blowing. It's not meant to be.
Not aligned.
Yeah, right? But the third person, they just get up and they change their freaking sail because they're like, if it's going to be, it's up to me. The wind isn't blowing in my direction right now. If I wanted to go in my direction, I'm going to get up and I'm going to adjust my sails to what is happening right now. And then 10 minutes later, the wind changes again. Okay, cool. No worries. Change my sail again. Change my sail again. Change my sail again. And if you've ever seen how a sailboat actually sails, it doesn't go in a straight line. It will zig and it will zag its way against and with the wind the entire time. That's how a sailboat actually works. And people are thinking that they can just let the winds take them where they want. Like, that's what will happen for them. They'll get to this place called nowhere in a decade. And they'll be like, how did I get here? Well, I got here because I didn't set any goals. I had a bad attitude and I didn't follow the 4 pillars. I kept hanging myself around with still people and just blaming everything. So be the third person, right? Like, people can get off this podcast right now and actually go, there's a true point, you know, like, yeah, I just lost my job. My girlfriend just left me and she took my dog and now I've got nobody and I feel shit. And I get that. I totally get that. And there is times in your life where it just feels like, fuck me. Like, what else could go wrong? But the most beautiful thing about that is you're on the freaking journey. Because if everything was just perfect all the time, it meant you chose the life that was easy. If you're going through any sort of challenge right now, it's probably because you've declared you want more. And you've got to go through a strengthening process in order to actually hold and obtain the life you want. So if you're going to declare that you want more, the universe will be like, okay, cool. Here's some things for you. And you'll go through some testing zones. So no matter what you are going through right now, just maintain the attitude. Be like, well, hey, yeah, my girlfriend did left me. I left my job and I don't have my dog anymore. Well, guess what? This is what is happening right now. This is a fact. If I blame, oh, my girlfriend or this, then yeah, sure, you'll feel better, but you're not going to get any improvement. But if you actually switch and be like, well, cool. If I'm going to improve it, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to get myself up. I'm going to go to the fucking gym. I'm going to feel good about myself. I'm going to start saying nice things to myself. I'm going to surround myself with better people. And I'm going to go and apply for 20 jobs today. And I'm just going to start with just doing one thing. I just want to get a job again. And then I'm going to worry about a girlfriend again. And then I might get a dog again. And just work on these little tiny things. And you'll start to eventually dig yourself out and pave an incredible future for yourself.
Love it. I will ask one more question because I know we're out of time almost. And I ask this of everyone because I started my business years ago because I'd seen leadership done really well and I'd seen it done not so well. And so I like to ask everyone, what does leadership mean for you?
Oh, what does leadership mean to me? I should know this. I run an advanced leadership program.
Right now. What does it mean right now?
What does leadership mean for me? Mean to me? It's not being a boss. It's not being a manager. It's about being a heart-led, right? Authentic warrior. And what I mean by that is we've got enough fakes, phonies, and frauds in the world. I truly believe the best leaders in this world are the ones who are brave enough to take off all their masks and be fully seen and be able to lead not only their life, but those around them in an authentic, genuine, purposeful, courageous way. Leaders are courageous. Leaders are decisive. Leaders are committed. Leaders have integrity. Leaders are action takers. Leaders are money makers. Leaders are the people that when the world falls apart, you can actually lean on them and be comfortable and safe following in their footsteps because they've built their nervous system. They've built their mindset. They've built their body and their life to this degree that they can be an absolute fucking warrior when they need to be and like a sovereign being on the other time, so they can be safe and hold people, but they can slay the freaking dragon on the next step. I call it this. I say like leaders is really about having the range and flexibility behavior where you can drink with a bikie and meditate with a monk on the same day. Leaders are people that can relate to everybody. They have zero judgment and they just lead their life in an authentic way.
Oof, love it. Cool. And what are you excited about next? What's coming up for you?
Oh, I've got Dreamfest. I'm just, you came to that last year, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
right. So we're starting to put more of the pieces together right now and playing with venues and putting the last few speakers together and doing all that. This is definitely the parts of this business that are, I don't want to say heart challenging.
Yeah.
And, you know, but once we've sort of got this locked in, that's the next big thing for me. We're going to start, like, you'll probably see that come out in a few weeks. It's in the next few weeks, we'll have everything up and running. People can get like early bird tickets and shit. We've locked in our keynote speaker. He's one of the biggest speakers and influencers in the world at the moment. Like he's massive here in Australia, massive in Europe. It's going to be a really, really incredible event. So that's what's exciting for me. That's what's up next.
Yay. Awesome. That sounds so great. And I will leave all the ways for people to connect with you and find you and maybe get involved in that in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. It's been such a great chat. And
you're very welcome.
We'll see you next time.
If you like that episode, then make sure that you click here to check out some of the other conversations with my amazing guests and friends. And if you really liked it, you can click here to subscribe so that you get notified each time a new episode goes up. And you can click down here to share it with your friends if there's something that they might also like to know. See you next time, lovely.